Hi, this is Denise with Paper Crafty, and today you are going to watch me fussy cut and construct a library pocket card for my upcoming jump journal for Cara Brandon Creations design team, as well as deconstruct a text block from the Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farms book. While I'm doing that, I will explain to you why I have been missing in action for most of June and why I'm now a month behind in doing this design team project for Cara Brandon. So if you want to watch those seriously incredibly boring and mindless tasks, don't say I didn't warn you. But anyway, again, thank you for joining me today. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm still letting this dry. I really love the way that looks on the interior. Super cute. You'll open it like this. I'm gonna put something here to cover up this section. But I really am not going to want to see that seam. So, and you know, that could just be my own OCD tendencies. But I really want to look through, you know, these, see what we've got here that we could use. That chicken just cracks me up. Okay, that would be cute too. I think I am going between these two. This could be, you know, decorated more fully. So, okay, I'm gonna let that percolate as to what I want to do there. And in the meantime, I'm gonna cut this guy out for this front cover. Okay. So, let's see. Okay, put that over there. And I'm just gonna use my handy dandy scissors for this. Okay, so I promised to tell you what's been going on with me and why I've been missing in action most of June. So I did the math and I was literally gone for half of June, for 14 out of the 30 days of June, I was not home. At the beginning of the month, we, as a family, all 5 of us, drove my daughter from San Diego to Seattle, where she's going to be working. She has been working remotely since she graduated last May full-time, but she's been working from our house. So over a year she's been working from our house, even though she was located out of Seattle. She works for Amazon. And so she really has been wanting to be on her own and being more independent, you know, and it's been tough for this pandemic, you know, for young people, for everybody, but for young people. I mean, she was very lucky that she got a good job right out of college, because, you know, that's not a given in this day and age, especially when, you know, people were not able to you know, do a lot of in-person interviews and whatnot. I'm just using my, let's see, I think this is a 1.5 inch circle punch. It's either 1 1/4 or 1.5 inch circle punch to punch that out there. So anyway, so we drove her up to Seattle. She was finally going to move in. They're not actually officially, they don't officially have to move back and be in the office until September. And then I think it's only going to be a few days a week that they have to be actually in the office. But she, you know, she really wanted to go, and she really wanted to, you know, she found a great apartment, and she was really excited to go. So we drove her up to Seattle on the, let's see, we left the 5th of June. And that's a long drive. That's like a 19-hour drive. So that took, you know, about 2.5 days to drive up. You know, we rented a car. We took, like I said, two different vehicles. She has a car, so she took her car, and then my husband and I alternated driving for the rental vehicle. And my younger son, my daughter's 23. She just turned 23 in May. And my son's 19. Or no, I'm sorry, he's 20. It's hard to keep track. He's 20, and so he was able to help her do some of the driving as well up there. So that really was you know, helpful. Of course, my youngest is only 15, so she wasn't able to do any of the driving, but you know, we all wanted to go together and support my older daughter in her new adventure. And on the way, we were going to visit my father, who has had cancer for he's been struggling with cancer for 9 years, and we knew that he was you know, in his end days. He hasn't been doing well for the last 6 months or so. In the last, you know, 3 in particular, he's been bed bound. Let's see if I want to use gathered twigs, or do I want to use some vintage photo. So he's been bed bound. You know, he had been bed bound, and he just went into hospice right before we left. And we were just going to go visit him, you know, and one last time and kind of, you know, pay our final respects and see him. Well, the day we left, we found out he had passed. And that was the day we were going to see him, is the day, you know, the day we left, the 5th. We were going to stop in San Ramon on the way to Seattle before we stopped for our first night. So, you know, about halfway through the day, we found out that he had passed. And so that was just really, that was tough, you know, to kind of get that news, especially when we had been looking forward to seeing him, you know, and kind of, you know, being able to pay our respects and say goodbye. See, I should have done something on the back of there. I don't like that it's just plain white, but I'll figure something out. Okay. So that was a bummer, you know. That was tough, you know. It was you know, kind of added some heaviness to the trip, which was too bad because it took some of the attention off of my daughter, you know, and her transition. And you know, this wasn't unexpected with my father. You know, he had, like I said, he had been sick for a very long time, and we knew that it was coming. It was just a matter of when. And so, you know, unfortunately, because of COVID and the pandemic, you know, fortunately and unfortunately, they weren't able to schedule the funeral right away. I guess there was a backlog on the funeral home that they wanted to go with and everything. So, you know, as it turned out, they had to wait about 2 weeks for the funeral. And so, you know, in one way it was good because we were able to finish you know, help my daughter get settled and you know, in her new apartment, you know, we bought a lot of furniture. We helped her, you know, unpack and, get rid of all of her excess stuff that she had, you know, in her apartment, the boxes and whatnot. And so, you know, that was good. You know, we didn't have to like suddenly, you know, go and leave my daughter there to fend for herself and then just go to a funeral. So that was good. You know, I'm glad that we were able to complete what we needed to complete with my daughter. And then we ended up, so we drove there, we had rented a car, we drove up, and then we flew back. And we flew back on the 13th. And it was a busy day. You know, my younger daughter had a Girl Scout end of the year party, and, you know, all these things that had been pre-planned, and she had missed her soccer banquet, you know, when we went up to Washington State. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, she was able to, for high school, her soccer end of the year banquet for high school. And that was a bummer, you know, that she missed that. But, you know, she really wanted to go and support her sister. So, you know, I really felt like it was important that we, you know, go to the Girl Scout end of the year party for her. So we did that. We went to the end of the year party. But before that, so I got home. We had to take an Uber home, which was ridiculously expensive. I was pretty disappointed with how expensive that was. Okay, so I made this, and I'm just going to set this to the side for now. I'm going to start deconstructing this book. Again, I don't think that this has sewn in signatures. I can't see any string here, so I'm just going to pull them out and hope for the best. So we'll see. Okay, so you know, I got home. I'm still waiting to hear when we heard while we were there that the funeral hadn't been scheduled until there was a rosary on the 24th, and then his actual funeral and interment was the 25th of the month. So, you know, it took several weeks for that, for them to be able to schedule that, which was, you know, bad in one way and good in another. So we got home, and, you know, we were all starving. So I started making some kind of late lunch, early dinner type stuff. And my mom had been watching our dog and the cat and kind of house sitting. And she's like, well, you should probably call Caitlin. I'm like, I looked at my watch and I'm like, we were there like 3 hours ago. We literally saw her 3 hours ago. What's going on? She's like, just call her. So I called her, and already my daughter is crying and is homesick and misses us. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this was the last child that I thought would ever, you know, go through this. I mean, I guess we all do, you know, as we're young adults and moving off into our own. But I did not expect it from her. She's always been so eager to be on her own and to, you know, live her own life and do her own thing. And so, you know, we got home and she was crying. And so, you know, it was like, of course I'm crying. And, you know, my husband's like, what are you crazy women doing? I think I'm just going to go to my room now. He couldn't deal with any of us. So, anyway, make a long story short, I mean, it's gotten a little bit better, but basically every day, you know, for most of the month of June, we'd been talking every day. She'd been calling and I'd been calling her and just checking in, and a lot of tears. So she's been struggling with homesickness, you know, so that's been tough dealing with that. And then on top of that, we had the funeral, the 24th and the 25th. My husband couldn't go up with me to San Jose because, you know, he got the word from his office that he had to go back and he had to start going back in person into the office, which he was super bummed about. And he just had a lot of meetings and things that he had to do. And so he just wasn't able to do that. So I looked into flights and I looked into rental cars, and just the rental car cost alone was ridiculous. You know, because I guess there's a national shortage of, oh, this is not turning out really good here. Oh, that's a bummer. I might have to start cutting these. So there's a rental car shortage. So, you know, basically, long story short, I ended up just driving up there, and it's like a 7-hour drive if you don't, okay, I'm just gonna tear this. Oh, gosh. All right, I'm gonna do my best to tear it or cut it. You know, and that's if you don't, you know, make a lot of stops and stuff. That's without any stops, is 7 hours. So of course it always takes longer than 7 hours. It's a lot longer because at my age we need several potty breaks. Especially when I'm drinking coffee and trying to stay awake. So anyway, I, you know, drove myself. My mom and my, you know, she came up with me. They had, my father is remarried, you know, they had been divorced since I was very young. But she came up with me to support me. So I really appreciate that. That was fantastic. It was good to have her. And so, you know, we went up and, you know, we decided to make a longer trip of it because I wasn't sure that I could, you know, do a full day of driving and then turn around and a day later do another full day of driving. So we ended up leaving really, really early the morning of the 23rd, and then came home the evening of the 27th. So, you know, 5 days, a 5-day trip. And it was a really good trip. I mean, it was a you know, a good funeral. It was a good service. It was a really nice memorial. And I'm, you know, really glad that I was able to go, and that, you know, my mom was there with me to help support me emotionally. But it was, you know, it was just absolutely draining, physically and emotionally, you know, both to be driving that long and that far, which, you know, when I was young, I could do that all the time. I just don't feel like I'm at a place now where, you know, I can do that regularly. It's just exhausting to me. It's not as bad when I'm, you know, trading off, you know, driving, you know, with my husband or whatever. but my mom really couldn't help with the driving, which really stunk. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this because the tearing thing is just not really working well for this. So, that was just super, super exhausting to try to do that. And, it was nice because we got to see some other family and some really close family friends because that's, where I grew up. And so that was really, really cool to be able to do that. And, I kind of feel like I'm still kind of processing a lot of, the things that we did. And, there were certain things that I wanted to do while I was up there. Because I feel like I was kind of in a way saying, goodbye to that chapter of my life and my childhood, and it was, in a way, it was a pilgrimage. So it was really good, but it was also just very in a way heavy. Just very not heavy. Heavy's not the right word, because I felt like we had a lot of fun too, mixed in with the sadness and the grief, and the loss. But not the vacation that you would hope to take, I guess, is really, absolutely good and wonderful and healing and all of that good stuff. But, not just a fun, trip to Hawaii or something like that, So anyway, I've, got home on the 27th. Of course, my husband's back at work full time. My son's had been house sitting for my mother-in-law. And so I was, with my youngest who doesn't drive, and just kind of, she had soccer camp and all sorts of, stuff going on. She's got a very busy schedule, so and I was just exhausted, just so drained. I can't believe, it's really kind of amazing how much, a trip like that can just, drain you physically and emotionally. But it did. So now it's, I feel like I'm finally back. It's July. I feel like, it's a new month, it's a new dawn, it's a new day. And I feel like, I'm in a really good place, and I feel like, I'm ready to move forward. And I'm really excited to be having some craft therapy. And I'm really excited that my husband took my daughter and his mother's coming home today. She came home last night. And they live on the beach. So I think he's going to spend, he went last night and he spent the night. He might spend another night. I don't know, but they're going to be gone most of the day. He likes to spend, 4th of July weekend there, because it's cool. And I'm going to go join them tomorrow. But it's just been so nice to have the whole house just to myself. I can't even tell you when the last time I had the whole house all to myself. Especially for a whole day. I've had a couple hours here and there, since the pandemic started, but no large periods of time. So it's so cool just to have, have some time just to myself, boy, I need time to myself. I really like being around people. I think I'm an extrovert, but just a mild extrovert, not a really off the charts extrovert. So I do get energy from being around people, but I do need time to recharge my batteries as well. And it's great to be home by myself and just be able to do whatever I want to do without having to take care of anybody else. Wow, look at that. That's kind of cool. You know, whether it's my daughter or my husband or my son or anybody else, and just be able to craft and hang out with you guys and not worry about other people making a bunch of noise other than the dogs who keep, you know, barking at the people putting up the signs for no parking on our street. But they're sweethearts. That's okay. They don't bark for too long. But anyway, so yeah, so this is great. I'm super happy to be here with you all, and thanks for listening to my rambling. Yeah, but so yeah, I really like that there. I think that's going to be cool. So anyway, okay, let's see if I can find a page that doesn't have, that just has writing where I'm not going to ruin the picture. I think every page has a picture. Wow, that is just, I love that. That's so cool. Okay, so let's see. This is the only page I can find that is just text. So I'm going to do a little something that let's see, I think Artie Mays did this. She just takes different small pieces. Just gonna take this. I'm only doing this, I'm not gonna do it all the way down the tag. I'm just gonna do it here just so it's the part that's gonna be visible. Let's see, which is the best way to do this? I think this way. So you kind of just overlap them kind of like this. All right, the number right there. Okay, so I'm gonna let that part dry. Don't need that, but I want to keep this word, the farm word, here. I think I can use that somewhere. All right, so while that's drying, let me figure out what I want to do here. Okay, so do I want to go with this? I like that. But I want to go with that. This is much whiter, I think, than this. And this one has more yellow in it, so I think I'm going to go with this. I still like this, but I'm just worried that this is, let's see, how long is this? It's a little over 3.5, 3 3/4 maybe. So if we go 3 3/4 from there, that's where the end of the pocket would be. That could work, actually. Do I like the cows there? Kind of like the cows there. Maybe I'll go with this one. Okay. So I'm gonna make this into a gusseted pocket. I want it nice and thick, so maybe I'll back it with this. And I'll just glue these two pages together so that it's really nice and thick. And then I'll trim the edges off. Okay, yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I think I'm gonna end today's video here. Thank you for joining me today and hanging in with me through this long story. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment. And if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Again, this is Denise with Paper Crafty, and craft on.